Good morning, welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Thursday, March 13th, 2025. And first off, I would like to apologise for the camera. I took my camera to the pub, my normal camera to the pub last night for the fights and left it there. So this morning I am holding the phone in my hand, and that's going to I'll get very tiresome very quick, I would think. So just excuse the camera, I'll be switching hands, I would think, so that my arm doesn't get tired. But what a big night of fights. I'm not sure whether I was disappointed in the card. I mean, it's all good in hindsight, isn't it? I suppose the big lesson is that just be careful what you wish for sometimes in stepping guys up into probably situations where they're maybe not quite ready. And again, it's all good in hindsight. We're all experts after the fact, aren't we? We're all saying, what were they thinking? They shouldn't have put him in there. It was a mismatch. And yeah, it was a mismatch. Let's face it. But credit to Brock. I mean, I'll get to that. We'll go through all the main fights on the card anyway. But disappointing night. The undercard I thought was okay. Just okay. I didn't see the main prelim, the undercard prelims, the prelims, if that makes sense, because I was in the car for most of it. So I didn't see that. And even with the Rustin fight, I had to duck out for a little bit, so I missed a few rounds of that as well. But saw enough to make an assessment. Now, the other problem is today, having this in my hand, I've got less control of Neil, who's doing his business at the moment, so I'm sure we'll be fine. But yeah, look, overall, was it worth $70? No, it wasn't worth $70. I don't think it was a real card to write home about. I think a lot of the matchups were sort of predictable, and again, it's all good in hindsight. But for $70, yeah. But geez, he put on a show, Keith Thurman. He delivered. He's probably the only one on the card that delivered. I'll go through it anyway. But look, I've got a few comments to make on some of the fighters on the card, and yeah, maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. Just a few comments about the whole thing in general. But let's start with the main the main event of the prelims, which was Charlie Kazzy. Really good performance by him. I mean, it only went around. It was not a great way to sort of end the main support, because Nort Beauchamp, look, he's a good little bloke. He is. He always turns up, always fights whoever. But I mean, at 39 years of age, he's had a lot of wars. It just had that sort of smell about it, that he's just not a young guy, but a guy who's just turned up for a payday. And I don't like to say that. Look, Charlie Kazzy looked the goods, didn't he? But didn't have a lot to work with. And yeah, I'm comfortable with it being the main prelim on the card. I'm not sure I would have liked to seen that on the main card. Charlie Kazzy, good little fighter. We've got a long way to go. We just need to see a bit more of him. I mean, I'm not basing anything last night. I'm not looking at him last night thinking, wow, this kid's going to be a phenomenon. He just got the job done. But I was really disappointed in that Nort Beauchamp. The first sort of sign of attack, just pretty much laid on the ropes and waited for the referee to stop the fight. It was a disappointing way to end the main card, but Charlie Kazzy, no disrespect to him, he did what he had to do. And as I said, he's going to be a good little fighter. But let's just wait another 10 fights and just see what he looks like, because we just cannot put an opinion together based on last night. But good on him. The young fella had a good win, which is good. On to the main card, and an upset to start the card. Now, again, I don't know why they put a 4-rounder on the main card. Ended up being okay, because couple of fights only went a few rounds, didn't they? But Sunday night, upset by Jordan Martin. Now, I was very, very confident that Sunday night would win the fight. I mean, they put him on the card by what looked like to showcase him a little bit. He's obviously with Glenn Jennings. Glenn's very tight with the Rose brothers, and I think as a bit of a favour to them, or to him, they've put him on the main card to showcase him. But geez, it sort of blew up in the face a little bit, didn't it? Because he was outpointed by Jordan Martin, who boxed really, really well. Good morning. He boxed well. He's tall, isn't he? I'm not sure whether he's that tall or Sunday night's that short. Come here, ma'am. Where are you going there? Around the corner. I'll let him go a bit here. All right, let's go. But yeah, good performance from Jordan Martin. I thought he boxed really well. I think he went in with, what was he, 4-2 or something like that. Sunday night 4-0. So yeah, as I said, a real surprise there. But he's got a lot of work to do then, Sonny. And Jordan Martin, who knows what will happen for him now? It might open a few doors. But that fight did not go the way that everyone expected, I would think. And it would have been a shock to everyone. But hey, you know, that's what happens in the fight game. Not everything's guaranteed. And just because you've got a good management firm behind you and you've got a bit of backing, it's all going to go your way on fight night. So congratulations to Jordan Martin. Then it was Kira Rustin and Tonga. And I think I did actually tip Kira Rustin to stop Tonga. I think it might have been the 7th round. I'm not patting myself on the back here, but I think that might have been, I can't remember, but just a good finish from Kira Rustin. He's a good fighter. Again, look, he's got a long way to go, but he shows the tools already to show he's going to be a solid fighter. A little bit to learn as far as, you know, just that ring generalship, and he'll get there. And Tonga, a really good opponent to sort of build your record, build experience, build your your repertoire, I suppose. And I thought he did the job. He boxed really well from a distance, really good jab, used some good angles. And what I liked about him is when he hurt Tonga, pretty much with a click of the fingers, it was over. Now, I know he retired in the corner, but that fight, if it had gone another 10 seconds after the knockdown, it would have been all over. So I thought he was very, very good, was Rustin. And look, Tonga fought okay. He fought well. He's going to be one of those type of fighters. He'll always be on these type of cards, and he'll always be in good fights. And I think it was actually a good decision to call an end after the 6th round, because, I mean, he'd been dropped hard. That eye really swelled up really quick. He copped a couple of really good shots, so I can understand why they stopped it. And a good decision by the corner. Kira Rustin. Now, there's talk he will fight Callum Peters, July 23rd. Now he's won that fight, which to me is a little bit strange, because they've got two really good young fighters they're trying to build. Now, I suppose we're all always whinging that the best don't fight the best, but I'm probably more talking after they're sort of semi-established. And the fact that Callum Peters is about to have his 2nd fight, I think it is, and you've got Kira Rustin, who that was his 5th fight. I'm not quite sure this is the time to match. Hey, I welcome it. I think it's great, and they're young enough that if one of them loses, it's not going to be the end of the world. But just surprised that they would put two really good young guys on together this early in their career. It's not like we've got an upper tire in the Yika situation here where they probably fight a little bit early, but they're both established fighters. These guys are, pretty much novices in the pro ranks. Sorry, I'm just sort of switching hands there. It's a little bit heavy is the phone, but anyway, I'll look forward to it. July 23rd, that will be, I think it was in Brisbane, wasn't it? So that will be a very, very good fight. At this stage, it's really hard to make sense of who's going to win that fight. I mean, we've only seen a very quick snippet of Callum Peters, so we probably need to see more of him. But what I'm seeing from Kira Rustin, I like it. I think he's a good young prospect, and as I said, a good, solid young fighter. And I think he's got a good future in the sport, does Kira Rustin, and quite capable of upsetting Callum Peters. And with Callum Peters, you've got no limit. So Rustin's with Ace Boxing. I know they're all in cahoots these days, but Callum Peters, that one first-round knockout, Olympian, they want to try and get behind him and build him up. It just doesn't make sense they'd throw him in with a really good young fighter in Rustin so early. But anyway, I'm sure there's a method to the madness. Then we went into Mattio Tapia and Bashir, Sergey Korobov. Look, I thought for the first 3 rounds or something, or whatever it was, I thought Korobov gave Mattio Tapia all he could handle. I was looking at Mattio Tapia in those first few rounds, and I must admit I was thinking, what's the hype on this guy? Really struggled. I think he tried way too hard. He was loading up on shots. He was leading with uppercuts and hooks and body shots and all this sort of stuff. And Korobov was actually having some good success. He boxed really well, I thought, and he boxed a lot better than what I thought he could. But I thought he fought really, really smart. I thought he made Mattio Tapia look pretty ordinary in certain circumstances. And again, if I'm being honest, I looked at Tapia in those first few rounds and thought, I just don't think this kid's at the level. Now, a lot of you will disagree with that and come back at me, and that's fine. but I was not impressed in those first 3 rounds. I just thought he tried way too hard, just loaded up way too much, and just got exposed a few times, and countered and outboxed. I thought it was a very average start. I mean, but as good fighters do, of course, he steadied the ship, probably settled down a little bit, started to pick his shots a lot more, and then finished the job on Korobev. Pretty quick stoppage, I thought, by the referee, but he's the one in there and looks into the eyes of Korobev and knew what was happening. But really good shot to put him down with, though, wasn't it? And that's again what good fighters do. That's probably what I'm probably going to flip it and say, look, as unimpressed as I was earlier in the fight, the fact that when the opportunity rose, he got the job done and got him out of there, very, very well done. And that's what elite fighters do. So look, again, I'll be honest, I think he's still got a long way to go, Mattio Tapia, and I'm not quite sure he's at the level of winning world titles. And again, that will offend a few of you out there, but I'm just calling it as I see it. We get a little bit caught up in Australia with, knocking over some international fighters, and all of a sudden they're going to be this and they're going to be that. And I know I speak for a lot of you as well when we've ended up with a bit of egg on our face over the journey. And for me, Tapia's still got a long way to go to prove to me he's at the level. Not to say, hang on, buddy. Not to say he's not going to get an opportunity. I mean, Andrei Mikhailovich got an opportunity, didn't he? And I still don't know to this day how Andrei Mikhailovich managed to get himself a world title fight. I really don't. So it can happen. I'm not saying he's not going to get a title shot, but for me, to challenge the Laras and the Yanabeks of the world at the moment, Adames, Shiraz, those types of guys, I just think he's a way off, and I'm not quite... Look, I think he's ready as far as fights goes, experience goes, but is he going to be able to measure up? I just don't know. I'm just being honest anyway, but we'll move on. But look, again, really, really good finish by Mattio Tapia. Got the job done in the end. A very impressive knockout to get the end result, and I suppose that's all that matters, isn't it? And maybe because he's on his, in his home country on a big pay-per-view, maybe he just, as I said, tried a little bit too hard. I don't know, but for me, still got a little bit of ways to go, and not at those elite guys' levels just yet. Then in the co-main, and talk about offending people. I'm really going to do it this time, aren't I? With Michael and his supporters. I don't know what to make of the Bashir A fight. I thought, I'll take a deep breath before I say this, because I know there'll be some pushback coming back. Maybe even from Michael. He does get a little bit offended if anyone has the balls or the nerve to talk anything negative about him. But look, I'll sum it up just with the fact, in my opinion, it was a very, very average fight between two very, very average fighters. That's just the way I see it. And you can disagree. You can say it was a good performance from Michael. You can say he's going to beat Tim Tszyu. Hey, that's great. In my opinion, though, it was a sloppy fight. It was untidy. It was messy. And I just thought it was just a scrappy fight that just didn't reach any heights. Good on Michael Zarafa, by the way, because he got the job done. A little bit like the Tapia fight. I don't think it was impressive at all, but at the end of the day, he got the knockout, and that's all that counts. I get that. But we're talking about a guy who sees himself at the absolute elite level. I'm still not seeing it. I wanted to sit down last night and just watch him and go, okay, he's got right from the word go, in my opinion, you could tell that Bashir A was just an average fighter. Very, very average. And I actually said in the preview that I wasn't quite sure of what to make of him, because he looked okay in the videos that I'd seen. But when you're not in there with anyone who can actually do anything in return, anyone will look good. And I just wasn't sure what to make of him, whether he was a good fighter or not. And you could see right from the word go that he was a very average fighter. He had an okay jab. He sort of moved okay, but he's just all arms and legs and awkward. And, maybe that's why Michael probably didn't look as good as maybe he could have. But I just thought Michael sort of got dragged into the flailing of arms and chins in the air and just clinching and wrestling and just nothing happening. And as I said, I'm bound to get a text message or something from Michael or one of his supporters or something, but it is what it is. I mean, I think the fact that I'm assuming that a lot of you watch this channel because I don't pull the punches and don't mollycoddle the fighters and blow sunshine up their ass because I want interviews and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to tell it the way it is. And if that gets a little bit of pushback from him or anybody else, well, I'm ready for it. But I just thought, if this is a guy who thinks he's going to win a world title, sorry, I'm not in agreement. Look, again, he got the job done, and that's all he can do. I understand that. But, geez, I don't know whether it was Bashir just made him look bad. But it was just two fighters. It was just, I don't know. It was just, I don't know what to make of it. I'm a little bit lost for words. I really wanted to see Michael look good last night. I just don't think he did. Having said that, though, the knockout was again like Tapia. He got the job done when he needed to. He finished him. It was a good knockout. That second knockdown was a really, really good shot. The problem I've got with Zarafa, though, is what I see is that when he actually has his fighter under a little bit of pressure or is hurt or something, he comes in, his chin is wide up in the air, and his punches are wide, and he leaves himself open. If you watch carefully, even when he has his opponent hurt, he tends to get hit on the way in because he just loses all composure and the chin comes up in the air. And I don't know what he was doing with his left hook. I'm not trying to be totally disrespectful or critical of Michael. I'm just calling it the way I see it, and I don't think it was an impressive performance. I know he jumped on the ropes afterwards and played it up to the crowd. One thing I will say, though, very impressed with Michael's demeanour after the fight. I really love what he had to say, and I know everyone lays the boots into Michael. I was really impressed with the way he carried himself after the fight. I was a little bit concerned when he jumped on the ropes and crossed the arms. I thought, here we go, he's going to launch into some tirade that's really going to get everyone even more offside. But I thought he spoke really well. He was respectful of Tim, because of course that was the first thing that came up. He just said he wanted the best for Tim. He wanted to fight him, but wanted to continue on his journey, and that's great. And that's one thing I was really impressed with Michael. I thought he spoke very, very well. And look, he will get another big fight, and that's great. And I hope he does well. But in last night's performance, I just wasn't impressed at all. Just me. What do you guys think? But I just can't see, how people sort of think he's going to be winning world titles. But I hope I'm wrong. Again, unimpressed with the performance, but very impressed with his speech after the fight. On to the main one. Well, again, everything's good in hindsight, isn't it? And we all sort of tend to sit back and think, what were we thinking this guy had a chance? And we sort of hoped for the best. We saw it with the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight, didn't we? We all hoped we'd see the old Michael. It was never going to happen. We all sort of hoped for the best, but we sort of sat there and went, is this it? Is this what we're going to get? It was a little bit like that last night. I mean, I thought Brock actually started okay. He wore a right hand, I think, early in the fight. And I thought, oh, geez, that sort of got his attention. I thought that obviously Keith wanted to have a good look at him. He was very cautious for the first 2.5 rounds. But I thought in the first round, when I watched the replay last night, that Keith was having a good look at him, caught him with a right hand. You can sort of see the look in his eyes thinking, well, this is just going to end pretty much when I want it to end. And I thought then he just went through the motions for the next 2 rounds. I was actually a little bit concerned that, not concerned, I was excited for Brock, but I was a little bit concerned if I was a Keith Thurman supporter that the second half of the first round, and especially the second round, and even half of the third round, I'm thinking, this guy, geez, has he got anything left? He's barely throwing a punch. Brock was starting to land some good shots to the head and body and starting to bully him a little bit. But then Keith Thurman just decided to step it up a little bit, and it was literally over in 30 seconds. That's how quick it was. It was like Keith was he even in first gear? He was almost in neutral, wasn't he, for the first 2.5 rounds? And it was almost like he flicked a switch and it was just done. It was like he was in neutral. Let's just say it's in, we don't want to be too disrespectful. He was in first gear, all right? So he's in first gear, just going through the motions. As soon as he clicked it in the second, the fight was over. I think he landed a body shot on Brock, and you could sort of see Brock wince a little bit. And then it was like, Keith's like, yeah, enough of this. I've had I've entertained everyone for enough. And he just stepped it up, and literally the fight was over in 20 seconds after that. Just boom, 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 boom. Some beautiful combinations from Keith, and down went Brock. Bravely got up, but then went down hard again after that. And it was all over. And it was just amazing, just again, in hindsight, to see how out of his depth Brock Jarvis was. And we always talk about levels in boxing. Well, geez, I think last night was the best example I've seen for quite some time of levels in boxing. And look, a credit to Brock. He, as they always say, dared to be great. He wanted to test himself. He wanted, at this stage of his career, he wanted to really, really go to the top, didn't he? He wanted to test himself and didn't want any sort of those medium type of guys. He wanted to go straight for some of the best in the world. And yeah, I mean, there's no easy way to describe it, is there? He was just totally blown away and out of his depth. And I felt bad for the kid, but end of the day, this is a tough sport. It's brutal, it's cruel. And that's just what happens when you step up to a fighter like Keith Thurman. Now, afterwards, there was a lot of hysteria about Keith Thurman. Oh, geez, this is going to be the super fight of the ages, him and Tim, and don't sleep on him. Look, it was an impressive performance, but I'm not getting too excited about Keith Thurman knocking out Brock Jarvis. I think for Keith to fight Tim Tszyu, fantastic choice for both guys. I think it's a good fight for both guys. I really do. So that's good for Australian boxing. But as far as people saying that, Keith Thurman's back, if he beats Tim Tszyu, okay, well, I suppose you could say that. But I'm certainly not getting excited that he's knocked out Brock Jarvis. But I thought he handled himself really well after the fight, Keith Thurman. Thought he spoke really well. Brock, of course, he didn't get interviewed straight after the fight. He got out of the ring, and I could probably understand. I mean, he would have been so disappointed. But look, again, credit to Brock. He got in there, he had a go, and that's all you can do. That's all you can do. But geez, again, in hindsight, what the hell were they thinking of putting that fight on? It was just so one-sided once Keith Thurman got going that we're all sitting there scratching our heads thinking, why would they possibly make this fight? Except to do what it actually did and make Keith Thurman look very, very good and pump up the fight with Tim Tszyu. So anyway, I'll tell you what though, it does raise my attention or my thoughts about fights in Australia at the moment. And I was thinking last night about all the fights that suddenly make sense. All Australian fights that suddenly make sense. Now, Keith Thurman will fight Tim Tszyu, so that's off the table. But I was thinking about it last night, and we're all thinking about all these of our sort of top tier fighters fighting everyone else. I just think in Australian boxing at the moment, there is the possibility has never been greater on a lot of these fights that suddenly make a lot of sense. And the fights I'm talking about, if I'm being, I'm looking at everything, fourth dimensionally, I suppose. Michael Zarafa should be fighting Mattio Tapia. That is the fight for me. That is the Aussie fight that I want to see. I don't want to see Michael go off overseas. I don't even want to see Tapia go off overseas. I think that fight at the moment makes the most sense to fight each other. Maybe it doesn't make sense when you think about that because one of them's going to be eliminated. I get that. But that is a great fight. I look at Sam Goodman and Jason Maloney. Timing never been better for those two guys to fight. I see Isaac Hardman and Andrei Mikhailovich. The timing's never been better. Even like Brock to some extent. I think even a fight with Nikita Tszyu would be a good one. The timing again is good. I think Brock, with what happened last night, could be the right opponent for Nikita as he builds his career as well. Who knows? But there's just a lot of good Aussie fights out there. The timing, everything comes down to timing. And I think those fights at the moment make the most sense. I think Tapia and Zarafa would be a brilliant fight. I really do. Whether they make it or not, I doubt it, because one of them will lose the ranking and the potential shot, and the money won't be there from the fight. But anyway, I would love to see it. But what do you guys think? What did you make of the card? Let me know. Was I a little bit too critical on Michael Zarafa and Mattio Tapia? Let me know. Was I not complimentary enough of Keith Thurman? Let me know as well. It's always good to hear from you. But guys, that will do it for today. Have a great Thursday, and we'll catch you tomorrow.